Loud, too low, too late, and too often. People who have lived around McClellan-Palomar Airport in Carlsbad have had enough. They say pilots are breaking the voluntary rules for flight without any consequences. And when they turned to the airport, county, and FAA for help, they found everyone pointing fingers at each other. We're working for you to get some answers. McClellan-Palomar Airport has been around for almost 65 years.
Something seemed to have flipped about 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago, and it got worse during COVID.
People who live nearby say this is not what they bought into.
Well, the airport was not this kind of airport when we decided to live here.
And they aren't happy about the changes they're seeing.
I used to take my kids, and we'd watch them take off and land. Little kids like to watch airplanes, and we'd go eat lunch at the tower. That's not what this airport is. So it's almost like a bait and switch.
This is the problem that
Dom, Frank, and Vicky tell us the changes include flights veering off the recommended flight path, which means more noise and pollution over neighborhoods, but also potential danger for newer schools in the area.
They were not in the flight path when they were planned and built. Flight path has changed.
They also say more luxury jets are taking off overnight during so-called quiet hours.
And it literally is the Wild West. There's no TSA, no security. They can come and go when they want, how they want, and where they want.
When they brought their concerns forward, they got stuck in a bureaucratic Bermuda Triangle.
Well, we can only do this, and the FAA is responsible for that, and then the FAA says the county's responsible for it.
One big challenge, the actual rules at the airport.
We have this thing called the voluntary noise abatement program, but there's no consequences when they don't follow it.
So we reached out to the county, which owns the airport, and asked why there is not a mandatory curfew. The county responded saying they don't make the rules, but are doing their best. Quote, although the FAA has exclusive jurisdiction over aircraft noise from aircraft in flight, the county regularly encourages aircraft pilots to adhere to the operating hours. So we turned to the FAA, which told us the noise isn't their problem, pointing the finger right back at the county. Quote, the FAA does not have the legal authority to force pilots to comply with the county's voluntary noise abatement program. The county is responsible for monitoring and investigating pilots who do not comply with the voluntary noise program. The FAA does not implement curfews. That didn't sound great to Congressman Mike Levin. The airport sits in his 49th district.
But I'll just be candid with you. The FAA needs to do more. And we're going to hold them accountable. We're going to make sure they're being responsive to address the real concerns of our constituents.
Levin is part of the Quiet Skies Caucus in Congress, which is focused on aircraft noise issues. But we haven't seen any concrete action yet. Dom, Vicky, and Frank say they aren't asking for the world. They just don't think that the interests of a few with deep pockets should outweigh the health and welfare of a community with deep roots.
So we're not trying to shut things down. We're just trying to get the airport to be a friendly neighbor to the community.
The county says the FAA denied requests for a mandatory curfew twice, the second as recently as 2021. Then the FAA asked the county, it says, to go through a longer process to show that a mandatory curfew was necessary. So instead, the county is no longer pursuing the matter. The county also says that over the last 5 years, flight totals are down and that flights during quiet hours were very low during their last quarter. For example, in May, there were about 2 of those flights a night. We're still looking into the flight path issues, and we'll be following up on that and with what's next with the quiet hours issues, and have much more details in the web version of this story. You can find it at cbs8.com.